All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at one-point perspective, and this is a technique that artists use in order to create a sense of illusion or depth in a two-dimensional drawing. So we're going to use a page out of your sketchbook or a scrap piece of paper. We're going to need a ruler, a pencil, as well as an eraser. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is draw our horizon line. Right? And the horizon line is where the sky and the earth typically meet, right? This is also sort of referred to as where our eye level is set. Okay, so step one, we have to write in our horizon. Okay, and then step two is we're going to be taking a look and we are going to add in a vanishing point. And you can put this anywhere on that horizon line. So step two is a vanishing point, and I'm going to label that VP in order for us to be able to kind of reference it a little bit later. And step three is to start inserting the shape that you are wanting to draw, right? So in this case, I am going to simply draw a something that approximates a square. I'm not overly concerned that all of the corners are lining up to 90 degrees for this particular activity, but you could be really precise and accurate if you wanted to be. Okay, so step three is square. All right, again, we're going number one, horizon line, step two, vanishing point, step three is drawing the shape that we want to make into a three-dimensional form, and then step four is to connect all of the vertices or the corners of our shape to the vanishing point. And I'm going to do this by drawing a light line from each vertice that can see the vanishing point directly. Okay, so you'll notice here that I'm only doing 3 of the 4 vertices. And that's because the last corner down here, right, it's going through the square, and we're not going to see it. So when unless you're creating a wireframe, you're not going to need this particular line coming from that vertice. Right? When we do these lines here, we're creating more of a solid object as opposed to something that's translucent or see-through. Okay, so the next step, okay, after, again, horizon line, vanishing point, shape, vanishing lines, right, now we're on to step 5, is to define how big this three-dimensional form is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to line it up so that it's parallel to the edge of the shape, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it across so that it is, again, remaining parallel, right? If you wanted to, again, be really precise, right, we could look at measuring out, so that's like 3.6 centimeters and making sure that it's 3.6 centimeters up here, which it is, right, to make sure that it's all even and properly set up. Right? And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, again, line up the ruler this time with the top edge, and I'm going to drag this up, and now we have our top. Okay, so just like this, we now have something that looks like a rectangular prism, and we have the last thing here we're going to do really quick before we finish this up is remove the vanishing lines, because we actually don't need those anymore. And just to help you get a better understanding or sense of how this starts to look three-dimensional, I'm going to just quickly shade this in using 3 different tones of marker here. So I've got, this is sort of outside of the main scope of what it is that we're doing here, but you can see here we've got 3 different values. Okay? And when we take our values, right, and we start thinking about how we can add this in, right, really quickly here, right, we can begin to create a stronger sense of three-dimensionality. Okay, so we have one side, okay, and this is my medium tone. I can take a lighter tone, all right, and I'm going to put this over here. right? And now that I've got actually this kind of starting to fill in, I'm going to change this. I want this edge here to be the darker one, so I'm going to pull this over. This is just going to create a little bit more of a realistic sense of three-dimensionality. All right, we can begin to start to imagine where the light is coming from. Because this side of the form is darker, we know that the light is going to be on the far side of the rectangular prism. Here we go. And we'll just wrong one again. So just get this dark medium tone in. I don't know I had the right one the first time. There we go. All right, so really quick. Now we have that sense of stronger three-dimensionality because each side has a little bit of shading added to it, right? And if you get really complicated, we can start thinking about even adding in what's called the cast shadow, right? To help create an even stronger sense of form and three-dimensionality. Right, the shadow on the ground here will end up making it look as though the shape is not just kind of floating in outer space. Okay? So really quickly, a quick recap. Basic steps. Number 1, okay, establish the horizon line. Step number 2, locate the vanishing point. Step 3, draw the face of the shape. Right? And we're going to be doing that as a shape that is facing us directly. Step 3, connect each of the vertices to the vanishing point. Right? Next, we're going to be establishing the other faces of the object by making sure that our lines here and here are parallel to each other. And then from here to here are parallel to each other. And then you have established your three-dimensional shape on a two-dimensional surface using one-point perspective. Okay. Give that a try. An extension for you to think about and to kind of challenge your skills is to think about what would happen. How would you draw a shape that crosses the horizon line, and how might a shape that is above the horizon line be created using those same tools or strategies that were discussed in our example here. All right, good luck. Give that a try. And if you have any questions, as always, please make sure that you're asking.